Do you guys ever have those late night conversations with yourself talking about your life, imaginary scenarios, and video game plots that always pique your interest and what could happen further down the road? I ended up having that a few nights ago about RE8, and all of us have been saying that the BSAA now using bioweapons is going to be the next big enemy, or whoever is behind the reason as to why they're doing that. But when I really thought about it, I was genuinely wondering why. Why are they now using those? Why was Blue Umbrella created? Why did Chris go rogue on the organization that he helped co-found it with Jill? Speaking of her, where does she stand in all of this? There's so many questions that I believe that need to be answered in Resident Evil 9. Now of course there is zero confirmation about this plot being the main focus of RE9, but it's mostly what people want in terms of the story. You can't just abandon what you set up with a new story. It would just make so many fans puzzled, let's say. I want to go back to where Chris started to lose trust in the organization, which all started in Resident Evil 7 and even before that. Dare I even say before Resident Evil Death Island, which that movie itself is just weird now that I think of it, because it felt like such a crazy side plot as it has zero connection to RE7 or RE8. There's no mentioning of what happened in Munich or anything with the connections. I get it was about Jill's comeback, but damn man. I'm going to quickly go over what necessarily happened in Munich and why Chris lost trust and faith in the BSAA, and it really has all to do with someone who has been very prominent in the stories of both RE7 and RE8. Following the 2004 Terra Grigia panic, knowledge of BOWs became public knowledge, and the threat of bioterrorist groups acquiring such weaponry intensified. To ready itself for a new stage in the ongoing war on terror, Chapter 11 reorganization was invoked on Umbrella's USA's assets in 2007, and the company began doing business once more under a new executive consisting of former employees trusted by the US government. In its revived form, Umbrella USA changed the logo to blue to indicate its separation from its predecessor red to the public, but the company still kept its original name, to make it clear to the public that they are cleaning up the mess that they once started, with the original Umbrella Corporation as atonement. Tasked with assisting in the war on terror using the Umbrella archives obtained by the government in 2003, Blue Umbrella began studying effective means of tackling BOWs. Forbidden by the UN to reactivate the Umbrella Security Service, combat duties were to be handed to internationally recognized anti-BOW organizations such as the BSAA. Fast forwarding all the way to 2014, so 7 years after Blue Umbrella is created, the BSAA at some point had become aware of the existence of E001, an E-type fungal BOW otherwise known as Evelyn, who was developed in the early 2000s by the crime syndicate The Connections, founded by Brandon Bailey. Bailey, a former Umbrella virologist and protege of corporation co-founder Dr. James Marcus, was instrumental in the development of the corporation, especially in West Africa from the 60s through the 80s. Evelyn was considered a serious enough threat to warrant her destruction as soon as possible. She was a genetically modified human conceived as part of the next generation of bioweapons research conducted by the Connections, designed to eliminate enemies without the need for combat. As a result of the merging of an anomalous bacteria into her genome during the embryonic stage, she gained the ability to control the minds of people who came in contact with her. Evelyn was unique in being the first E-type bioweapon, alongside her unhealthy obsession with creating a family to suit her own needs. With groups such as Blue Umbrella determined to track down Evelyn and her creators, the company made the decision in October 2014 to take her into hiding. Agents Alan Droney and Mia Winters discreetly escorted Evelyn under the guise of parental guardians onto the cargo ship Annabelle, bound for Central America, where they planned to disembark and take her to her second laboratory. The BSAA received intel that the Connections were planning to transfer Evelyn and several D-type subjects from the research facility in Munich, Germany to another in Central America. A team was dispatched to capture and terminate Evelyn, but for whatever reason, they failed. Evelyn, her handlers Mia Winters and Alan Droney, and the D-types boarded the LNG carrier Annabelle, which soon departed. This failure on the part of the BSAA would eventually lead to the Baker House incident. On October 5th, the ship was caught in the midst of a violent hurricane. This caused Evelyn to become unstable and rebel against her handlers, infecting and killing Alan, then running away further into the ship where she began vomiting excessive amounts of mold and infecting the ship's crew, all while being pursued by Mia. They later on crash and go to Louisiana. After the events of Resident Evil 7, with an internal investigation concluding that the BSAA themselves were at fault for the entire incident due to their slip-up in Munich, the cover-up was done in an attempt to save face. However, the internal morale of the organization was now heavily degraded, and a profoundly disgusted Chris began to become more distrustful and critical of it from then on. At the time of the Village incident all the way in 2021, Redfield had lost complete trust in the BSAA, which is now described as a rotten and ruined organization. The BSAA sent their forces to contain and destroy the Black God along with Mother Miranda. At the same time, the Howlin' Wolf Squad under the command of Chris Redfield entered the valley to do the same task, acting independently of the BSAA. Chris Redfield found the BSAA soldiers to be behaving callously and only provoked the anger of the Black God, being almost if not completely wiped out by Mother Miranda. The Howlin' Wolf Squad is an elite BSAA task force originally operating as their own separate unit in the BSAA. In 2018, founding BSAA member and SOU Captain Chris Redfield commandeered the unit without the BSAA HQ approval, and spent the next 3 years hunting down Mother Miranda, effectively making the unit rogue. The Howlin' Wolf Squad was ultimately the last group to evacuate the valley following the elimination of the Black God. With one of the BSAA soldiers in the helicopter, they discovered the soldier was in fact a BOW. Revealing the BSAA soldiers to be engineered mutants and raising questions about the BSAA's decision to utilize such weaponry. Redfield orders his team to head for the BSAA's European headquarters to get answers. Now, I was going through a lot of YouTube comments on my most recent community post asking people why the BSAA are using BOWs now, and a lot of those comments really helped me open my eyes, and to those people who commented on that post, thank you for the help with the creation of this video. Many people thought there was a mole, and there may be a bigger reason as to why they are using them. This could range from villains like Alex Wesker, the connections with Brandon Bailey, and possibly long-awaited returns from characters like Raymond and Jessica from Revelations 1. But there are also people saying that they are using them to fight fire with fire, because we saw them infiltrate the village when we were Chris trying to take down Mother Miranda, and the BSAA probably knew about the moves Chris was making with the Howlin' Wolf Squad. Or there may be a bigger reason as to how they knew in the first place. Now, another minor thing I was thinking of is that maybe Chris found some sort of reasoning with this stuff, and now this is just how they fight. And maybe this has something to do with RE9, like a deep connection to this cliffhanger, but it has a different story if you get what I mean. Speaking of those BSAA soldiers, of course those 2 bioweapons failed, because either one of the members killed them, Howlin' Wolf Squad I should say, or Mother Miranda did. But how can they control weapons, go down ropes, and not target humans but rather enemies? This is my theory right here. I don't know if it's necessarily mine solely, maybe someone else came up with it, but who knows. I believe somehow, someway, whoever decided to release those BOWs found a combination between 2 viruses. The A virus, which you were able to control the BOWs, and the C virus, because it is one of the more recent viruses and we saw the Joavo enemies shoot weapons. And maybe they found some sort of sample on one of the BSAA soldiers' dead bodies, or to figure something out with both viruses and combine them to create what the Chris clones were. Now, of course, cloning wise, we don't know how that shit was able to work, but we gotta wait for the game to come out, and even if the plot will be about this. But one thing will be on my mind until that trailer gets revealed, and that is, where does Jill stand in all of this? Is she even aware about the usage of BOWs now, about the company she co-founded with Chris? Is she even aware of Chris going rogue for the past 3 years? Is this only a Europe thing, or is this a worldwide thing? Because they have branches in America, Africa, and Europe. Canada and other places I have no idea about. As of right now, there is no confirmation about evil acts with these BOWs. We don't have much to work with for a while. But let's say somehow something evil happened and now it's to the point where humans are now fighting these cloned BOWs or whatever, or they lose control and start killing humans. And it leads to an all-out war, and in the end, we get some sort of apocalyptic outcome. And there is barely any life, or a good chunk left, but a vast majority was wiped out. What's crazy is that Resident Evil 9 is supposed to be called Apocalypse, but we don't know if Capcom changed that or not. Is this all because of the mistreatment, the fuck-up, and the BSAA's mishandling of Evelyn, to the point where your best soldier, the heart and soul of your organization, turns your back on you, and now you are trying to create clones of him to make up for that loss, and now he finds out and he's pissed off? Is this going to lead to the destruction of them and create something way bigger than what it should be? Is the connection somehow involved with this corruption or drastic change? Is Brandon Bailey still alive? Or is this just a way to even the odds against terrorism? And this is the better way to fight wars that doesn't involve human casualties? Have they created a safe plan as to where we can use BOWs without the risk of either of them going out of control or someone controlling them causing an outright war? Which, it's crazy because this is pretty much far away from what the foundation of Resident Evil is. But I really don't have a problem with that because we have gotten so many silly things over the years, and I guess it had to change over time. Chris is still alive almost 16 years after RE8. We get those answers in the Shadows of Rose DLC. So I guess shit got sweet and was over within a snap. But I want that risk and worry factor with these characters. Worry and the fear of them dying. Could this be a war? Could this be something crazy I am blowing out of proportion? Could this change everything about Resident Evil and the characters we love? Or is Capcom just going to push this plot aside for the sake of new characters? There's many villains that can come into play for this game, and I can't wait. And I do hope Jill is in this game. She's just as important to the storyline as Chris in my opinion. I just want to know where she is in all of this. If you guys enjoyed or are, pissed off about me reaching like crazy and overreacting, leave a like on this video. I would really appreciate that. Also subscribe for more Resident Evil content if that's your interest. And as always, I'll catch you guys in my next video. Peace out and much love.